Good morning. It's Friday, October 27th, and there is finally a Speaker of the House. Mike Johnson, representative from Louisiana, finally got over the threshold and became the Speaker of the House. And one of the first things that he is going to have to deal with is one of his fellow congresspeople. It would be Representative Rashida Tlaib, one of the most vocal critics of Israel's treatments of the Palestinians. Now, she deserves to face punitive action from the Republicans as soon as Congress had elected the new speaker. Tlaib is a so-called progressive Democrat and a Palestinian American, and she has constantly accused Israel of creating an apartheid state. And her statements since the Hamas attack on October 7th and the subsequent airstrikes on Gaza have been criticized by conservatives and MAGA supporters, with calls for her to be primaried or censured in the House. She's gone totally off the wall on this subject. She is a ranking antisemite. There's no question about that. So because the Speaker's chair was empty, Congress was preventing from voting a rebuke against Tlaib. Now, as of Wednesday, there were almost 6,000 Palestinians killed, and more than 100 people died in the West Bank. And then you got 1,400 people in Israel who have been killed. Most of those civilians who died in the initial Hamas rampage. So I don't understand how Tlaib can take a position that a normal thinking person would hesitate to take when Hamas pulled a sneak attack and came in and killed Israelis. The Palestinians have reason to be unhappy, but Hamas is their choice of government, so they have to take the blame for the actions of Hamas. And the fact that Israel turned around and defended itself is not cause for Tlaib to go off the wall. She's calling for the ending of the occupation and the dismantling of the apartheid system that creates the suffocating, dehumanizing conditions that led to the resistance in Gaza. Maybe if the people of Gaza, maybe if the Palestinians all over that region had decided they could live with their own state, this situation wouldn't exist. Maybe if they took everything that Israel left behind when they left Gaza in 2005 and continued to run those businesses, maybe they would not be in the same shape they are. Maybe they would have had the brains not to let Hamas take over the government. That doesn't enter into the minds of people like Tlaib, that they have brought the situation to their head. This is not a situation that was created by Israel alone. The Palestinians had plenty of opportunities to work with Israel and the UN to get themselves set up as a state, an independent state. But they don't want that. They want the eradication of Israel. And so does Tlaib. And that's a shanda that a person like that is in Congress representing a group of people. A group of people who agree with mass murderers. That's not what we want in our leadership in this country. And Tlaib stood out there crying about the children who were dying. But the children who are dying were not the children she was talking about. She wasn't talking about the children that Hamas kidnapped and took away and chopped off their heads and murdered those children. She was talking about the poor children that Hamas was hiding behind. The civilians in Gaza that Hamas constantly uses as a shield to protect themselves. She's talking about the great Hamas universe that hides weapons in schools and in hospitals so they won't be found and they won't be inspected and they can't be taken away because there are people around there that don't deserve to die. Hamas is a villain, a huge villain, but Tlaib's eyes are closed to that. And maybe they're closed because she's a loyal Palestinian. But if she's a loyal Palestinian, she has to recognize that these people are not doing good for the Palestinian people. They're only good for themselves. If they were humans, if they were upstanding citizens, they wouldn't be living underground in tunnels, hiding from the rest of the world. These are evil people. They don't need anything to set them off. This attack was a heinous attack. And yes, the Israelis have a lot of fault because they put their guard down. But when you saw the people who were attacking Israel, they were not only Hamas. The civilians, the Palestinian civilians joined the attack, throwing rocks over the fences into Israel, trying to hurt people, trying to hurt poor communities on the border there. Kibbutzes that were completely wiped out by the Hamas attack. Is Tlaib worried about those people? Those people are innocent. Israel's there only defending itself. Never has Israel initiated an attack. Ever since 1947, they have been attacked many, many times. And always the attack was with the intention of destroying Israel and wiping the Jews off the face of the earth. But is Tlaib putting that in the equation? No. She's an anti-Semite to the core. She also blamed Israel for the attack on the Al-Ali hospital in Gaza, where hundreds of civilians were thought to have been killed, and Hamas was hiding weapons in that hospital. But Israel didn't attack that hospital. That attack was caused by a misguided missile from Hamas. But that's not the way Tlaib sees it. And Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez condemned Hamas for what they did. So, not all the progressives think like Tlaib. I believe most of the progressives are on the side of Israel. And then you got Marjorie Taylor Greene, who jumped into the mix, and she's out to get Tlaib thrown out of Congress, censured because of her statements and her actions. So Tlaib has enemies on both sides of the fence, and she's wrong in everything that she has espoused. But I understand her loyalty to Palestine. I understand growing up and being a Palestinian American is something that you have to live and love with. But at some point in time, you have to recognize the failures that that country has committed over the years. And why are they in such a bad state? It's their own doing. It's not Israel's fault that they suck in Gaza, that they have problems in the West Bank. It's the fault of the Palestinians themselves. So the Palestinians who don't live there have to wake up and recognize the fact that their problems are of their own making. I leave you with that this morning. Have a great day. Bye.